All these rumors are fun to talk about. And Red Bull hasn't blown up yet.
Alex Albon's birthday, and his gift, Logan Sargent's car.
With the drain covers, why is this such a big issue?
That's what I'm saying.
Alonso more and more is looking like Aaron Rodgers.
He's geriatric. We just kind of want him for merit mark.
You cannot win a constructor's battle when your second driver is not performing.
Grab your popcorn, folks. Things are getting crazy.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Lights Out Latest. My name is Marina, and I'm here with Jason, Steven, and Tristan. And today we're going to talk all things news, and then get into some of the new driver pairings that we're going to see in the 2025 season, and kind of discuss what we think, who's going to outperform who, and stuff like that. Before, as always, headlines. First of all, FIA released 2025 start times. U.S. fans, Eastern Time fans, Vegas is no longer in the middle of the night.
Let's go.
That will be an 11 p.m. start on the East Coast, 8 p.m. in Vegas. So it's not a 1 a.m. race anymore, which is wonderful.
Love to see it. Absolutely love to see it.
It's also great for me as a Central Time girly for Thanksgiving, because it usually falls on Thanksgiving. Or in those weekends, which means it will be like 10 p.m. for me.
That's delightful.
Wonderful race. That's one of the best race times we will ever see.
Yeah.
So,
you gotta love when F1 times work out nicely, right?
Well, we were talking about this the other day. We were walking the house, and I was talking about, well, the F1 season for me realistically lined up. It's so terrible.
Yeah.
In terms of timings, because we go through this whole stretch where here. It's terrible times. It's like 3 a.m, 2 a.m. We go Australia, China, like all of those super out to the east, right? Middle East, whatnot. But then as soon as I'm in the Middle East, in Dubai for break, that's when we have all of our U.S. races and our European races, and it just becomes a late race for me anyways.
Yeah.
So it's like super annoying.
Well, I mean, there's so many factors that go into this, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we have, I think, probably the main reason why they did this is for drivers' sake, just because they're already racing so late anyway.
Well, yeah, and they're going from Vegas to the Middle East.
Right,
So
right. And then also, you got the heat part of it, too, because if this was a day race, my gosh.
I also heard, like, Vegas downtown, they didn't want to be cleaning up into the early hours of the morning.
That'd be bad for business.
They could start it a little bit earlier, where they're not cleaning up at 2 a.m. Vegas time.
I think realistically, too, given that F1 is the one that, promotes this event, they also want people to enjoy themselves at the event and after the event for, to help Vegas as a community come around this event. They need local businesses and stuff like that to participate. And I think if you have a race at 8 p.m. where people are leaving the track 10, 11 o'clock, there's still plenty of nighttime in Vegas to go and be at the casinos and be whatever. Whereas if you're starting a race at 11, maybe people will go before, maybe they won't. Yeah. But then you're done at 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then it's like, wait, it's way too late for me to
bars
go
be
enjoy
closing
myself.
at 2. You can't really be doing
Well, I
So,
don't know how it
I don't know
works
about
in
Vegas.
Vegas.
I think it's probably a little later than 2. But
Probably.
I think a lot of people are going to be like, 11, it's 2 a.m., I'm going to, especially intense racing fans that you just went through, just watched all that. Now it's like, I'm ready for bed.
Yeah, and you got to wait all
day. So I think the 8 p.m.
race.
realistically for Vegas and the Vegas community is going to be a much better start time.
Well, yeah,
for them,
the thing is, too, I just kind of thought about it, and I think this will still be an issue, even though it will be, 10 Central, 11 Eastern time. A lot more people will be up around that time, whereas if you're going to have it, 1 o'clock in the morning, everyone's asleep. Just about everyone's asleep at that time, I feel like.
Yeah, I think only real racing F1 fans are going to stay up at 1 a.m. to watch Vegas, but the casual viewer might turn on their TV in bed at 10 p.m. and be like, oh, look, it's F1, and maybe start to watch.
I was even thinking about the locals. I mean, I guess it would probably be different in Vegas. But imagine it's 1:30 in the morning. All of a sudden, you're woken by the screaming sounds of a V6 hybrid.
Yeah,
honestly, they're not that loud. If you're on the 40th floor of some massive high rise, you're not hearing the F1 cars from up there.
I mean, would you feel it though? I feel like you might be. No,
that even less so. I think.
No.
Well, just on the pavement.
Indy cars are louder and shakier than the F1 hybrids are.
But I don't know.
Maybe at the start when the pack is traveling very together.
Yeah.
But once it's spread out.
Once they're spread out.
Funny you bring it up, because that was a massive concern before the Miami Grand Prix. When they're trying to get community council approval, there's protesters from the community, and they had posters with jet planes on it, and we're no, they're not that loud anymore.
No, that is also the typical anti-motorsport in the United
course.
States argument is noise.
Yeah.
Like that's why a lot of short tracks are closing is because all these freaking dork like land builders are like, oh yes, I'm going to build a new
Yeah, like
residential
Laguna
neighborhood.
Seca
And
had
to
a
your-
noise complaint.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
insane. Laguna Seca.
And to your point, F1 cars aren't that loud. I mean, granted, there's certain autodromes, like we have one in Dubai, that's not that close. It wasn't that close to my house at the time, but you could hear when they were racing like GT cars, you can hear them. They're real loud.
Yeah.
But an F1 car is not that. Well, we would never hear, like, you're not going to hear a go-kart, right? Like, there's certain, car types that are very loud, but F1 is just not one of them.
Wait,
It's
Yeah,
like the Madrid Grand Prix is facing that right now. They did an environmental study. And this is not just like pollution, and it's also noise and community effectiveness of the environment and the community.
Yeah.
And they came back, I think I just saw today, where one, they need to reroute one of the straightaways, and then two, they need to put up some like sound deadening barriers or fences.
Wow.
Like
That's crazy.
that's a concern for the Madrid Grand Prix.
Yeah.
See, but I will sit on my porcelain throne and be like, well, actually, wait, the porcelain throne's the word
The
for
toilet.
a toilet.
I was gonna say.
I'm gonna say ivory throne. That was dumb. And say
Point taken,
I
point
think
taken.
the F1 cars should be louder. Though.
They
Of course.
should.
I do
like,
think.
no.
Yeah, I agree.
any day of the week, I'd go back to V10s or even the V8s, or they're hybrids
Absolutely.
and they're V8s.
Yeah.
We could do it.
Yeah.
We could
It's
do
just unfortunately, it's just car manufacturers don't see the purpose in a V8 anymore.
Right, because F1 is, and a lot of motorsports, this is what you're going to see in your cars in X amount of time, right?
Yeah.
That
yeah.
is the whole point for engine manufacturers. Granted, for someone like a team like Red Bull, that's not the point, right? Red Bull makes all their money back. It's all a marketing expense, which blows my mind, which, by the way, I'll get into that very, very quickly, which is, did you guys know, I did think I sent this video out, that they slightly changed the color of the Red Bull logo on the car every weekend based on the time of day so that it always looks exactly the same?
Huh. No,
So,
I
like,
didn't
if
know
it's a
that.
night race, it's obviously the light's going to shine on it differently, so they change the colors.
Yeah.
So it's not like one color palette or one sticker, it's always changing.
That
Anyways,
is really cool.
For
Isn't
the
that so
4D
awesome?
chess move.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but besides something like that, and a real engine manufacturer, they want to get into it because they want to push their limits on innovation. So going, quote unquote, backwards in the market, it just doesn't make sense
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So,
Unless we
I
start
get
running
it,
on like
but-
an alternative fuel source or something like that.
yeah, maybe.
Start running on corn, and then we got corn run at V8s.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's what Vettel did with his Senna MP46, I think the one he has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Race Without a Trace. He used like fully biofuels.
Yeah.
in that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Reminds me of like the Cars movie,
Oh god.
the whole
yeah.
ethanol scam.
Oh god, what was the name of it?
I forget what it was, but yeah,
Dang.
he was
Allen
electric this whole
Allenol.
time.
Allenol.
Yeah.
All in
Yeah.
all, or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's
yeah. Though I will say, I mean, some of the cars in like endurance racing, they still use V8s and stuff.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
like
yeah.
no,
Cadillac
Oh,
does.
yeah.
Like Aston Martin's coming back now, albeit it's a customer team.
But-
They're running a V12.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's a
That's
whole different
crazy.
market, right? They're
Yeah.
trying to push the limits of an already existing engine, no?
Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking
They're
of
not
it.
trying to, like, for example, for an engine manufacturer's point of view, they're not trying to develop a new one. They're trying to push the limits of one that already
Well,
exists.
I was thinking more like
Right?
the
Like-
LMP and like hypercar classes.
Like the LMP and hypercar,
Yeah.
sure, they could promote hybrid technology, but like Aston Martin is selling a V12.
Yeah.
Albeit it's a Mercedes V12. They're selling the V12. Or Ferrari is selling a V12 still. Like
Yeah.
it's so much cheaper. This is just a theory, but it's so much cheaper to run in IMSA or WEC hypercar with like a V12 than it is to make one for F1.
Yeah.
And
No, absolutely.
it would be worth it to do that like one-off sports car thing in
Yeah.
IMSA where you could sell customer cars too. You could do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
You can't do that in F1. F1, you only have one engine
Yeah.
and one team, and you can't sell your car to other teams
Yeah.
to fund it.
It's not like you're selling homologation spec F1 cars.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So like you
That'd be
could take more
crazy.
risks in an IMSA or WEC because it's cheaper.
yeah.
While F1 is much more of a marketing expense, and you need to promote your newest tech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
True.
Let's move on to some Ferrari news. There's a couple things that came out this week. Firstly, something I found interesting. Lewis Hamilton's set to earn $60 million at Ferrari.
Good for
First
him.
of all,
man.
Total?
that's
Sounds right.
insane per
Yeah.
year.
Oh, per year. Jeez.
Yeah. First of all, that's insane. Second of all, I don't know why I had the assumption that he was going to take a pay cut at Ferrari.
Well,
The rumors were when he signed that would be 100. Like I don't know where the
For
60
both
million.
years?
Yeah,
Or,
for
like, per
each
year?
year. Each year.
$100 million per year.
Damn.
Well, so maybe they were right into 100 million 2 years that makes more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
60, like 50 to 60 million, which granted 50 and 60 are very
I mean,
different
at
numbers, but-
Schumacher's peak, I think he was close to 100 million because Shell paid his salary,
Oh,
and then
well,
Ferrari
okay.
paid some of it
Yeah.
on top of it. So like Schumacher, but does that count as like sponsorship revenue?
I would
Like, Lewis
think.
has their own
Yeah.
sponsors.
That was what I was going to say too, because what's even crazier is that is not his only revenue stream. Granted,
Yeah.
probably one of his biggest ones, but he's still making tons of money off sponsorship deals, and he has his own thing. He has a piece of the Broncos.
Yeah.
Granted, I don't know if they're making or losing money over there, but
They're in the playoffs.
It's football. I'm sure they're making money.
Hey, sports
But he has so
assets,
many other
none
revenue
of them
streams.
depreciate unless the team like collapses. So
That's
Yeah.
good.
Like Oakland.
but I think it's crazy. It's like if you think about, okay, if he's making 60 mil from Ferrari, he's probably making about
How much
100 a year.
How much does Max make per year?
It's like 55,
or
right?
60.
Interesting.
That was the thing. I don't know if his contract. I remember seeing something to the effect of he'll make X amount, like 55, the first year he signed it. The extensions, let's say in I think it was 22 when he signed it, or 21 when he signed it, something like that.
Yeah,
So
he
he'll
makes
make-
55 per year.
So that's what I'm
Okay.
saying. He'll make 55 that year, but I don't know if that was a 55 every year till 28, or if there's some
Yeah,
other form.
that
not
would be
to
insane.
mention like some form of increase. The other thing, not to mention, is championship bonuses and race win bonuses. Right,
Yeah.
we win 19
Yeah.
races in a year. He definitely made a lot more than 55 because the team definitely paid him for. I don't know if to go as far as say each win, but definitely bonus for championship and
sure.
for certain milestones and stuff for the car. So like if you get 10 wins this season, you make X amount, whatever.
Yeah.
But I definitely think he made more than 55 overall
Yeah.
over the last couple of years. Not to mention, like I said, external revenue. Speaking of kind of external stuff, two things for Leclerc. First of all, his ice cream brand Lec is now but will be available in the UK.
Oh, UK.
Cool.
Dang, you
Which-
got me for a second.
I am so mad because I want him to come to the US so bad,
Oh,
but I
yeah.
don't know if he doesn't have enough, I don't think, a market. It's not worth it for him. But also, there's so many, it's so competitive.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
The US
it
markets
wouldn't
are
be
very,
worth
it's
it.
not worth it for him.
No.
And
Like,
there's so many.
He would need to partner with a
things.
big brand,
Unless
like
if he,
LeBron
like-
and Hennessy. You got the
Yeah.
Le Hennessy.
Oh
like
my gosh.
that is hilarious,
Or if he,
and that
like-
sells so well.
If you like exclusively sold them at like Ferrari dealerships,
Yeah, like you get a Ferrari and you
Yeah.
get the optional Leclerc. Like
like a pint.
no, you get like it'd have to be like a cooler full of them.
Yeah.
Like that would be
Yeah.
Would you
sick.
like some Charles Leclerc gelato while you wait for your Ferrari?
But I think it's so cool. I hope to try it at some point. But there's that, and then there's the fact that I don't know if I'm considering this a new logo or not.
It's like a secondary logo, I feel
I
like,
think it
right?
is. I don't
because
think
he
his
still
main
uses
one.
the old one. The
Yeah.
new one, like you said, like the top is a CL and the bottom is a 16.
You just got rid of the C and the 6.
Yeah, so then
Yeah.
it's more abstract. Ooh.
Just
This
just
logo
Polestar.
slightly
Yeah.
bothers me because it's what I wish Liam Lawson's logo had looked like. Because I really wanted him to do the lightning strike.
That'd be
Yeah.
cool.
Because LL it would have been like the lightning strike for Lightning McQueen, because that's
Yeah.
like his thing. Granted, I think at some point he's got to step away from the Cars fandom, but
Yeah.
for now we all love Cars, so I don't know why he wouldn't have.
It'd be cool
but-
if he had like a car sponsorship or something like that. Just went the heck with it and got like
we need Cars. What is it? Cars 4 to be like F1 only base.
yeah.
Which one is it? Cars 2 that has
Yeah.
Francesco.
Francesco.
Same one with the one we were talking about earlier with
Francesco.
All in All.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, Lightning McQueen did retire in Cars 3. So,
Well, he can be the doc.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm
Be the
saying.
coach.
Yeah.
Wow, it's just a never-ending cycle of the young guy and the old guy over and over and over.
That's like a
But then
ninth
you'd have
circle
to
of
kill
hell.
off the old
Or
guy
he can
every
be a
single
Fernando
time.
Alonso.
Yeah.
Fernando Alonso.
This is gonna sound terrible, but does that the guy who did Doc Hudson's voice is even?
Yeah, he's he's dead.
Is
He's
he-
dead.
I was gonna
It's Paul
say.
Newman. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he passed
The
away.
one with
So-
like, I mean, not to be not trying to be disrespectful, like the guy who did like the ranch and stuff like that. Is that the same guy?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I always forget that Michael Schumacher actually was like in the first movie.
A lot of them were. They did the voices in their language. Like Seb did it in German for the German version of Cars. I think Michael did Italian.
No, they had Michael speak English.
Did he do English?
Yeah,
he did.
At the end of the movie, Luigi has he always talks about these Ferraris showing up to his shop. They finally show up, and he's like, "It's a Michael Schumacher. He's at my shop."
Did Fernando?
I think he did the
Spanish
one. Yeah, I think he did the Spanish
Was he the rally car driver?
Lewis?
Lewis was in the British one, yeah. Lewis is there.
There are a bunch of guys in there.
Yeah, there's a ton, which was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We need to get another one of those.
But I
the
remember
Cars movies.
There was a Disney movie recently that had Charles and Carlos. They did a voice for like these two police officers, I think.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
That's funny.
I don't remember which one it was. It was definitely a Pixar. I think it was a Pixar movie. It was an anime movie. They just did a voice. It's like a one-time character where like they literally just like a police officer like knocks on a door or something. Yeah. And then one of them did it in Italian. I think Charles did Italian and Carlos did Spanish.
That's sick.
Which is interesting. I don't know. I think it's cool because it's like these like mini voice acting things, and then as a F1 fan, you can go and like watch these things and be like, oh my god, that's so and so's voice.
Yeah.
It is fun.
Yep.
But speaking of Charles, him and Lewis are gonna drive the 2025 Ferrari in what is that? 10 days? 11 days?
That's
on the
crazy. 19th? We're getting there, people. We're getting there.
Yes, we are. I mean, Daytona 500 is very soon.
Yup.
Oh my God, I think this is the first time this has ever happened on the podcast. Breaking news, the FIA are now considering a full shutdown of team radio in F1 broadcasts to combat driver profanity.
We got breaking news.
Oh my God.
So they would
First
allow the
time we've ever done on the
profanity, but...
You heard it here first, folks.
You can say it's just nothing. None of your team radio is going to... I don't like that, though.
No, I don't like that either. I mean, they've kind of gone... Well... A little bit in NASCAR, they've kind of got away with it.
But you could choose what's broadcast. Like, you don't need to broadcast every single team radio. Yeah. The only place you could do that is on F1 TV. So that's why I completely disagree with it, is because broadcasters can play. They always play on delay anyways. They don't need to broadcast it live. So I'm like...
That would take away a huge part of the sport, too.
It would.
I think it would create a disconnect for the fans because now you're just kind of sitting there, you're really just watching cars go around.
The commentators would still be able to hear it. They would be able to say, he's complaining about his tires complaining about the penalty. But you lose so much emotion in there.
During a recent interview, President Ben Salam was asked how the FIA could combat driver profanity. He goes, do we go and then shut down the radios or live communications? Maybe. Do we delay it? Maybe.
It's MBS just talking.
There's a lot of things that we'll work on with our promoters. MBS. We are indeed still the owners of this championship.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
Wow.
So
here we go.
Hashtag dictator speaking.
Man, I hope he gets voted out. But the only reason why I think he might not at the end of this year, because he's up for re-election, is it's not just F1 people voting. It's all of the FIA, all of their series, all the karting, all the commissions are voting. F1 has a small percentage of the votes, all the F1 people that are voting. So there could be a huge chance where, like, you know, a lot of other people are like, hey, he did the things I wanted him to do for my part of motorsport, right? It's too bad what he's doing for F1, so I want to keep him. So, like, there's a chance.
I think that there's also a lot of things that he's implemented recently, like we talked about the kind of this thing with the swearing and stuff that we talked about the last couple weeks. That applies to everybody. That's not just F1.
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that whoever run. I don't know if someone's gonna run against him or someone else gets elected, or I don't know how that.
That's the other thing is we haven't heard anybody run against him yet, and it's gonna be the end of this year that we're gonna find out who would run against him.
Come on,
who
Sebastian.
Wants to be the president
Come on.
of the FIA.
That's the
Do
thing.
it.
Who wants this job? Nobody wants this job. I feel like
because if you do a good
person
job,
who wants this job.
you almost never hear them if you do a perfect job. Like John Todt.
Yeah.
Now I don't know if he did a perfect job because I wasn't in it, but you never had bad headlines about John Todt.
Yeah.
No media is good media in this scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate that saying. All media is good media.
Why did
that
they?
Is the biggest load of crap I've ever heard in my life.
One of the craziest things was they introduced the medals for the winning driver. like separate from the Grand Prix trophy.
I don't hate it, but I don't love that.
I think it's too extra. Like, you already have the trophy. Sure, that's from F1 and the FIA isn't awarding it. Like, that's where I think it comes from, is they said, oh, we need to give them an FIA award, not an F1 award. And maybe that's why they give them medals.
FIA just wants to be seen as the heroes.
Like, I wonder if Max, like, keeps all of them in a bin. Like, you display the trophies, but all the medals are just in a bin.
Yeah, it's probably just in a bin or a box or something.
Low-key, just melt those joints and sell them. Make them into gold bars.
I'm sure he's done.
I don't even think they're gold. There's no shot.
I wonder if he's done any, like, auctions of that.
It could be, too. Yeah.
Because he did do auctions of other stuff, like race-borne stuff and things like that, for when Brazil had the floods. Kelly did stuff with that, and they auctioned some of that stuff off. But I wonder if he's ever done anything, like, because I don't really think he cares. Like, about these medals. Like,
I think it's made of silver and plastic.
What? No, I think
plastic.
I don't know what Max's take is on, like, racing history and stuff. You know what I mean? Because, like as an example, right? Like, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he keeps, like, everything.
Yeah.
He has a race car graveyard.
Well, no offense to him, but he's... I don't know. I feel like he's a special example just because he's never won a chip.
Well, he's won 2 Xfinity Series championships, but, like, he never won. Well, that was when he was coming up. You know, he won 99, 98. Yeah. But, no, it's just he's a historian. He loves the history of the sport. I mean, that's his whole podcast is regarded to that.
True.
But I would be curious, because I don't get those vibes from Max. If I was, who would I get vibes from, like, anybody on the grid? I mean, Seb. It's probably the closest because he, again, like just the dorkiness in the video, naming all the champions.
Yeah, Lewis for sure.
Lewis probably. I think Lewis just maybe more so Ayrton Senna kind of vibe, like meaning like he keeps a lot of because it's his favorite driver as a kid.
The whole Senna Max thing resurfaced on my For You page this week.
Boy.
What's that? Like just who's better?
Well,
the comparison.
there was a former driver. Crap, who was it? Was it Montoya? I think Montoya came out recently and said, I don't even know if this was recent. I don't know. Came up on my For You page this week, and I was like, he was talking about comparing Max and Senna again, being like, you can't. It's not like I'm discrediting Lewis or Schumacher, I'm not discrediting Lewis by saying that his driving style isn't like Senna's. I'm just saying it's different.
Yeah.
Like. It's a different like
had
comparison.
To drive different cars. I mean, vastly different F1 car. I
don't know.
Yeah.
But
I always get so like I understand that they're professional drivers and driving is their career, but when they go and like take those like when he drove Ayrton's car, like is there genuinely a couple minutes where he's like I don't know what I'm doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just the car definitely.
Yeah.
Very different.
Because you can tell like they do so good when they get back in those like those old cars. Like I think George drove that really old Mercedes like last year. I think it was like it was one of those like big freaking long like it has an aircraft engine in the front kind of car.
Oh yeah.
Well, Lewis drove Ayrton's car in Brazil. Yeah. And I think who drove somebody drove. Several people, I think, drove stuff in Monaco for that.
I just get curious. It's like, I wonder if they...
Like Leclerc drove, I think, a couple of loudest cars.
Yeah.
And Mick Schumacher, a while ago, drove his father's Benetton.
That's awesome.
In Belgium.
Yeah.
Like before the Belgian
I don't know if I would say easier, but I almost feel like driving those cars is probably, like, peaceful for them. There's, like... not
buttons.
As much. It's just a lot more fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's very mechanical. It's very driver connected. The car.
Well, I think there's two aspects to that. The first is like you said,
simpler.
Yeah,
it's simpler.
It's gotta be rougher.
There's
less.
For sure.
Less
you feel
buttons.
everything.
Less buttons.
There's also like less and more pressure. For one hand, you can't crash this car.
No,
right?
that's the worst.
But on the other hand, like you're not racing against anyone but yourself, right? You're just taking it out on like a joyride. Which I've always wondered because I had this issue with I swam and played water polo for so long that I can't sit like to this day I cannot sit in a pool and do nothing because it just it feels awkward to me. It feels wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they get into a car, any car, even if it's a road car, and be like, I can't go slow.
Well,
like,
you know,
am I supposed to, like, especially these older cars where it's like I can't crash, but I also
I think
can't
with
go
the race
slow.
car, you want to be like, hey, what if I push the limit on this? This might be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know that there's the whole thing with like Lewis famously hates driving outside racing.
Yeah. I don't think he's the only one.
Well, I mean, There are a couple of videos of him doing joyrides. He has a R34 GTR.
Yeah,
and he's
I do remember
posted the videos of the joyrides. I'm sure there's a lot of unrecorded
He has an
joyrides of them.
R34?
Yeah.
Yeah, search up
Really?
Lewis, or is it R32?
It's
I think it's one of
like
them.
purple,
Lewis Hamilton
but
R.
He released a couple different videos.
Oh no, it's an R34.
Yeah.
I think.
the other thing is too, the way I think
Of him,
about
like,
it
racing that.
is like the last
Oh.
thing a cook wants to do after coming back is cook. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah,
I'm sure there's some part of that too.
I've seen multiple
Depends on who.
interviews with
Yeah.
drivers.
Like
Yeah.
Max, first thing he wants to do is hop on a sim. Granted,
Yeah.
that's different, but
Yeah.
it's still driving.
He's a
Yeah,
robot, so there's that.
Yeah.
But no, I've heard a lot of interviews for drivers.
But
'cause
like
obviously,
commuting driving is different than like fast driving.
Yeah, I've like a lot of interviews with like comedians or something like, oh, why don't you guys drive on the road? You don't get speeding tickets? Or like,
Yeah.
nah, we get all our speed out on the track.
I almost wonder if that's how Lewis feels too. He's like, I'm just not going to drive because if I know if I did, I would want to go crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, it's like
But-
we were talking about this the other day. It was like of us, like you watch a race and then you get in a car and you want to go fast.
Yep.
And I think everybody does that. Like you watch, I think it's very natural. We were talking about this actually in my Knies 100 class. I don't like the class, don't recommend. But anyways, the idea and the theory that like you watch football and you want to play football,
Yeah.
right? You watch someone dance on like a dance show or whatever, and then you're inclined to like get up off the couch and want to dance, right?
Yeah.
So I think that there's like those things apply like to more like normal people too. Is like you see F1 cars go fast and you're like, oh, I want to drive fast.
And that's why the Nürburgring, the Autobahn is so great.
Oh yeah,
No limits, baby.
I love those
Yeah.
Nürburgring videos of like somebody takes like a box truck.
Oh,
on
yeah.
it or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's awesome.
But speaking of other cars, Max and Fernando have quote unquote revealed. We've known this for so long. I can't
Yeah.
even like that they have plans to race 24 hours of Le Mans.
But
Hey.
who would they race for? Because I don't know if the Honda Alonso relationship has
I mean,
healed at all.
Would Acura be
So-
an option?
Well, that's a Honda car.
Yeah,
I
but
don't-
still, I mean, it's
No.
a separate brand.
No.
I don't know who they'd race for. I think the more important thing that is what Max is focusing on right now is he at least claims to be too heavy because they don't have the minimum weight.
It could be for Ford. So
Yeah, that would be
because
sick.
Ford is
Oh my
entering the
That would
top
make sense.
tier again, and technically starting next year, Max is going to be a Ford,
Ford
driver.
driver, yeah.
That
So
is very
and then
cool.
Alonso has no bad blood with Ford, so you could do that.
Yeah, that would make
That'd
sense.
be epic. Max and Fernando versus Ferrari in Le Mans. Oh,
I love all the 24-hour races. I think they're awesome. I
Yeah.
think it's so cool that like all the endurance stuff is awesome of like just pushing yourself that far. And
Absolutely.
even, like everyone that you don't think about like crew wise and stuff that's like literally been awake for God knows how long.
Yeah.
So
Endurance racing is a whole other animal.
it's a
man.
whole other
Yeah.
ball
It
game.
is crazy.
Yeah. But let's talk Netflix.
Mm.
I
Drive to
swear to God, if this
Survive.
happens, I'm gonna lose it. Before we get into Drive to Survive, Netflix is considering a formal bid for to acquire F1 broadcasting rights in the U.S. for 2026. ESPN's deal ends at the end of 25, and then they would like, or potentially would like to take over.
Stop the streaming platforms from
Yeah.
being evil.
Well, we just
I-
need to see Netflix consistently host live events without issues.
yeah, that's. I mean, what
I
did they do
just
with the Mike
didn't
Tyson
like-
fight? And it was awful.
Yeah.
bad.
And the NFL games.
NFL
I
games,
didn't
so-
like the NFL games. Granted, I watched those overseas, so it was a little bit better because not as many people are trying to watch on
Yeah.
that particular server.
I just
But-
don't think Netflix is built for that right now.
That's the thing is that's their business model.
Yeah.
That's where they're trying to go is sports. So granted, Formula One isn't, let's say, an easy pick
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it's still a growing audience. You already have Drive to Survive, and they're not these TV contracts that are gazillion years long,
Yeah.
right? Like I said, ESPN's deal is coming to an end at the end of 25, so it's not unheard of for them to try and go for 26. I
Yeah.
remember Apple TV being in the mix a couple years
Do
ago.
remember that.
We shall see, but I just don't want it to be Netflix.
Yeah,
What do you think
yeah.
about Netflix?
They're just like they just started doing live things and it's not going well. They're used to posting things long form.
Yeah.
It's just they're not built for it right now.
I don't need commercials either.
Well, that
No.
too.
U.S.
Yeah.
audiences use we
Yeah,
have
you'd
commercials and
hope
everything.
it doesn't come back.
You got the Netflix side by side going.
Last
Here's my
time,
thing though, ESPN has broadcasting rights to U.S. right,
Yeah.
we still have F1 TV. So as long as they are allowed to keep F1 TV
right?
and acquire it, I'm down.
That's what I was
Or
about to
if-
ask. Is
That's
like how would
fine.
F1 TV
Yeah.
operate?
But if not, then I'm not down.
There are
'cause
countries where the contract says you can't have F1 TV anymore, or to get F1 TV broadcast, you need to buy the package with
Yeah.
the broadcaster.
Oh, that would suck
Yeah.
if you had to get Netflix plus F1. Oh,
That
No.
would not be fun.
Yeah, like the YouTube TV plus
Yeah.
NFL Sunday Ticket.
yeah.
That stuff it gets expensive.
It
and it's
really
crazy.
does.
And again, my one hope though is that one single entity acquires it, because I don't want to get into a situation like we have with the NFL right now, whereas, oh well, you have to have, like, we use YouTube TV for some of the games, but then you have to have Peacock to watch the other
Well,
ones.
to
and
be
you have
fair,
have-
there's a lot more games in the NFL than there are F1 races.
Yes.
You know, you could have
but still,
15 games in a week in the NFL, right? That's the right number?
Something like that.
something
Yeah.
like that.
Well,
yeah.
all year for F1 maximum right now is 24. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but still.
I don't see it going that way.
Yeah, but then in 20, you have 24, but then you have 3 practices. Like, that's the other thing, is, like, how are they going to, is it going to work? Like,
Yeah,
a normal
but even with
broadcast, you have
that,
the whole
like-
race weekend, can I go back and rewatch a race? You're going to save it on there?
Yeah.
Like, that's a whole other question, right?
Yeah.
That's true.
It's literally just going to come down to just talking about it in general. I think we're starting to see it now. I've talked to people that, like, just don't watch TV anymore. Like, don't have YouTube TV or anything like
Yeah.
that. Just have, like, Netflix and Hulu, stuff like that. Like, they pick and choose, like, what they're going to watch.
what's keeping it alive is live sports. That's the
Yeah.
only reason why people pay. And I
Yeah.
guess the news, like,
Yeah,
even
but you
that,
can
there's
get your
free news broadcast
Right,
on.
you can get your news
on
through a
YouTube, like, through your
podcast, on
phone. Yeah.
YouTube, through
Yeah.
your phone, social media. Like, our generation more and more is getting their their news through social media. Granted, I get my news through social media on CNN and BBC, and I actually read a lot of the
Yeah.
articles that they post through their stories, or I get notifications from the actual apps, but I don't watch. Like, I don't know the last time I sat down and watched a full news coverage.
No, I
Besides,
mean,
like, PSN News, but that's Penn State news,
the strongest
so-
fast asset of cable TV with news is local news.
Yeah.
It's like
For
if you
sure.
watch 6 ABC Philadelphia or something, or 6 NBC.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you wake up in
Philadelphia.
the morning, you want to know what's happening in your city. Where's the traffic at? What's going
It's
on?
like,
Yeah.
for example, like when you're reading the BBC and all that, that's international news. International news is obviously, I think, bigger. Yeah, it's definitely bigger than
Yeah.
local news. But like the old heads, like my dad comes home and puts on the news and watches 6 NBC for like 3 hours, maybe.
Yeah.
Every
yeah.
day?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, absolutely.
So-
Those are the two things, like you said, that are keeping cable television alive.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like traditional, because now everything's on streaming. Even if you don't like, for example, let's say Grey's Anatomy, or like last night, oh my God, I can't believe I'm about to say this. We were watching The Bachelor. Bachelor is on ABC, but if you wait one day, you can watch it on Hulu, right? So
Yeah.
that's what everybody's doing. Like, I watch Chicago Fire, Chicago PD. That's too, like, you can't watch it live on these streaming platforms, but you can watch it the day after or a couple hours later that's up on these platforms.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you don't need it,
Well,
right? You can still
Amazon.
watch cable. Amazon.
Amazon bid for the rights when it went up, because I think the original deal when ESPN, because it was first with NBC and NBC ran ads,
Yeah.
that ended after 2017. I that was my first year I watched a full F1 season. Yeah, the ads are annoying, but then F1 took it over. I mean, ESPN took over for $1 million a year, and then it went to like 45, and now I think it's 90 million a year.
Wow.
Is their current contract?
That's crazy.
Amazon offered more than 90 million, but F1 turned it down because they had way less viewership, and they're afraid
Yeah.
to pull it from a major stream cable service.
Yeah.
Even though
Yeah.
ESPN's not free, like you need
Well,
this package that
yeah.
has it.
I think that's the issue with any of the other streaming platforms that are more
Like there's rumors Apple TV,
Apple TV,
would acquire
Peacock,
the global
Prime
rights,
Video.
not even just a single
think
country.
Netflix is different, because, like, even to the point where, like, socially, we have, like, the terms Netflix and chill. I'm Netflix and chill, and I'm not even watching Netflix, right? Like,
Yeah.
you're just watching, like, right? You're just watching streaming. So I think that Netflix is the one exception to that rule that I think they would consider.
So many people have it already. It's like
But
it's true.
I really,
it is the biggest streaming platform.
Yeah.
Could you imagine though how much more expensive they would make Netflix if they got F1?
I don't think they would.
I don't think
No.
they would.
Well, they already announced like a couple months ago. Like
I
they
don't
brought
think-
up their like prices by
They
$1.
did hike their
Yeah.
prices. I don't think that Netflix would hike general prices. I think
No.
they would do a YouTube TV system where it's if you want to watch live coverage of F1, here is the package that you have to purchase.
Yeah, I think they've
Right.
been a lot of this like with the what's it called, by having those football games and by having the Mike Tyson fight, definitely is like a trailer almost for what they're planning to do, which is like, for example, if they were to get the F1 rights, then you'd be like, all right, pay
Yeah.
so many
$5
streaming
more.
platforms have live sports right now. Like even Tubi
Yeah.
is broadcasting the Daytona 5. Oh no, the Super Bowl. Tubi is broadcasting the Super Bowl. with
Really?
Fox.
That's crazy to think.
Yeah.
Well, they just need to get like rights, like like because I don't know who's the main who has
Fox
it this year.
has
the
Fox
Super
has it
Bowl.
this year.
Yep.
Fox has the Super Bowl this year.
And they sublet it
they
to
just sublet
Tubi
it to
also.
Tubi.
So you could watch it on Tubi if you want.
It's Fox's coverage, but Tubi is like if you were to
Rebroadcast.
go to the game, and you see the broadcasting team, none of them are wearing Tubi gear. Like they're all Fox. It's just
Yeah.
Tubi is like licensing.
It's like a
it.
third
And,
party.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like similar style to F1 TV.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
obviously F1 TV has their own broadcast system, but a lot of you can go to the international channels and go to Sky Sports.
Yeah.
Right. It's the same kind of system where it's Sky Sports broadcast,
Is
but they're what you're watching on an F1 TV. It's the same thing. It's gonna be a Fox Sports broadcast.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that you
like
can watch on
ESPN
Tubi.
doesn't even have their own commentators. They just rebroadcast Sky Sports.
Yeah.
Is Sky Sports? This is just me being ignorant. Is Sky Sports exclusive F1? Like, do
No.
they do other sports as well?
So Sky Sports, the way their thing works is actually really intelligent because they
They
have
do all the sports.
different channels.
Oh.
So it's Sky Sports F1, Sky Sports Racing, Sky
Yeah.
Sports Football, which is
It's
soccer.
like
yeah.
it's like
So Sky Sports Premier League or whatever. So each
It's like UK's ESPN.
Yeah,
okay, there you
exactly.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
exactly.
you know,
It's the same system.
You know, Red Bull has their own TV. It's like
Oh, yeah.
it's Red Bull TV.
Yeah.
And all they
But you
do.
can't watch it live.
No, it's all recordings, but it's all like it's honestly like I think you'll find it on like any smart TV. It's like a back option, like
Yeah,
for if you
it's
want
like
to
an
just
app you
put
can
something
get.
fun on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just take videos, recordings of dudes doing cool shit.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
put it
Remember
on
you used
there.
to seeing like Travis Pastrana videos
yeah,
and stuff like
be
that.
on there or something,
Yeah.
or like Lindsey Vonn or like I don't know, something like that.
Extreme airplane racing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Mhm.
speaking of Netflix,
Mm.
let's real quick side note to Drive to Survive.
Yay.
Official poster was released. I don't know what they were doing.
I like it.
I
don't know what
can't
you
tell
was a
you
cool
if this.
poster.
I
think
can't
it's
tell
very
you if
cool.
it was intentional or not. But tell me why it says "Watch your back" and then behind Max is Oscar and Carlos. Because let me tell you, neither of those
They
people
erased
challenged
them.
him this year.
They won races.
Someone forgot about the magic erase feature.
Yeah, because
Magic erase.
because here's the thing. Here's the thing. If you pull up the poster, you think, oh, watch your back. It's Lando and Charles.
But nobody's looking that close.
But
Real
I
F1
am.
fans are.
Yeah, that's my point. Is like I feel like they kind of posted it. There's two options. Option one, they intentionally did that, and I don't know why they would. Option two, they just assumed nobody would notice.
I'd have to believe that's the reason, but
Which is, do you know your audience? Like that's
Yeah.
like number one. Like,
well, I mean,
do you know your audience? Because the F1 audience nitpicks everything. Like,
yeah.
zoom in on all of the stuff. So
I mean, I guess the thing is, I mean, a lot of I feel like the Drive to Survive people are new F1 fans or casual F1 fans, so they probably don't care as much or even notice. But yeah, no, to your point, like the guys who do care about it, you're looking at it's just an eyesore.
yeah,
You
It's
know,
just like that just doesn't.
You know, it'll be a major disappointment. So we're assuming that Max isn't going to be on it or doing too much with Drive to Survive,
No.
right? Brazil, not the drama, but just the cinema of Brazil in that
I don't
race.
know if that's gonna make it.
I see it. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's gonna be such a disappointment.
It's so crazy.
Yeah.
being
Because that was
talked about
arguably
stuff
like the
that.
coolest weekend of the year.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially
For
like
me.
it could have been built up like, oh yeah, we expect weather is coming in, like oh qualifying was a shit show, like stuff like that, and then just this like fucking Centurion driving
The
through
only
the
way-
field.
The only
you
way
know?
I see it making an appearance is if they were to somehow make a connection to Canada, and just kind of be like, look at this.
Mm.
And
Well,
again, this
it's-
is very niche, but
Yeah.
it's like McLaren shit the bed twice, right?
Yeah.
Very similar conditions.
I'm saying
did
this
twice.
That's right. You're saying the cinema would be
Right.
amazing.
But you could still
But
talk
also-
about it, but you'll be
yeah.
missing all the interviews with Max.
Well,
and
he's on the
close-ups of
freaking.
him.
He's on the thing. You know. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no way he's got to be involved.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
I
whole
will cry.
thing. Is like that's one of the things I didn't like it much, like at all, about last year. Right? Was last year we saw? Well, I guess now it's 2 years ago. 2023, we
Ugh,
saw
Yeah.
a huge dominance by Max Verstappen,
Mm-hmm.
and yet there was no presence of him in the show because he doesn't do Drive to Survive, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do you? And again, this is not like shade to Drive to Survive. This is more so like thinking about it with like my PR head, my content creation head. It's like, how am I supposed to create content about this sport who's being dominated by someone who's not interested in being part of our show,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And I get credit to them because I do think they did a decent job last year. But I am curious, now that there's an actual fight going on,
Yeah.
how they're going to portray that. Because
Yeah.
clearly Max is going to be the villain again,
Well,
right?
the
There's no way
thing-
it's not.
I was just thinking about, too, I feel like for new F1 fans and casual F1 fans, you're getting a false
Narrative.
narrative of what F1 is.
Absolutely.
So then you go and watch it and you're like, oh, this isn't what I signed up for. And then you're like, I'm not going to watch this anymore.
Yeah, because I think they downplayed the dominance of Max Verstappen in the season. And so if you didn't watch 2023, or say you didn't watch 2022 Drive to Survive, you come into 2023 and you're not expecting,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
The other thing is, too, I
So-
mean, if the rules stay the way they are with, like, the no profanity and stuff like that, that's going to ruin, I feel like, Drive to Survive even more.
well, I don't think they have any, they just can't, I think the defaming the FIA will stand.
Yeah.
But I think like the cursing and stuff, that kind of stuff that we see a lot is interesting. The one question I still have pending about Drive to Survive for this season is Will Buxton's involvement with Drive to Survive right now. Not just for 2024 seasons, which will come out on March 7th, which is a huge win for F1 fans because it will not be the same weekend as testing. So
Whoop, whoop.
you can relax and watch both. But what is his involvement going to look like for this season, and then for the 2025 season? Is he going to do any of it? Because I love Will Buxton. I think the three biggest personalities in Drive to Survive: Danny Ricciardo, Gunther Steiner, Will Buxton, all of which are no longer in the sport. So that's also going to be a shift that Netflix is going to have to
Will
make.
was
right?
like the face of a lot of F1 Drive to Survive.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We shall see.
But we're gonna have to do this rapid fire kind of because we spent so much time talking about headlines. Let's talk driver pairings. I think the two big ones in my opinion that people are gonna talk about are Ferrari.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I guess three: Ferrari, McLaren, and Mercedes. Right? Obviously, we have a lot of rookies on the grid, but
Even Red Bull, I don't think Lawson's
Granted-
ready.
yeah.
No,
But I think
I
I
agree.
think the one thing that differentiates Lawson from everybody else that raced against Max, Alex.
But Alex had
Pierre.
time. Pierre had time.
No, but my
Like none of them went straight to the top team
But that's
full
what I'm
time
saying.
like
The
this.
one thing I think that differentiates them is the mentality, because I think they wanted to beat Max and Liam doesn't, which could also be worse. But I think
it could be another checkout
see.
situation.
Yeah.
We shall see what happens with that. But Ferrari's team dynamics, how do you think that's going to play out?
I think it'll be
Remains to be
fine.
seen, I feel.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a remains to be seen situation.
I think it'll be a
but
lot of fun.
I think it'll be fun. That's
Yeah,
also
I
a
think
good
so
point.
too, but
I don't know. I think Lewis is matured enough, and he's also like maybe not more stoic, but he's more like level-headed, I guess you could say,
Yeah.
than for example in 2016.
I mean, he's had
Well,
had
granted, it's been
a
10
few
years.
It should
be.
really close driver battles. Like he tied with his teammate in his first year.
Yeah.
It was a
Yeah.
title, and they finished tied for second. They could have won the championship, but they kept battling each other out, Alonso and Hamilton. Like, imagine that in context of today, an Alonso-Hamilton title fight while they're on the same team. Like,
that'd be
I was
crazy.
Well, who knows?
crazy.
Maybe we
Yeah.
can see that next year.
I
Yeah.
feel like it comes down to how hard is Lewis willing to go for it? Is he really? Is this his
come
last
on.
year for
Is this
sure?
last hurrah?
Yeah. Is he really
I
gonna
need
go
him
for the
to
title?
win with Ferrari.
My other question becomes, at what point, at Ferrari, do you see a situation where it's like a papaya rules situation? At how far ahead does one need to be for them to be favored over the other? Or is it not even a question of, we don't really care about who's in the championship, we're going to prioritize it race by race? Or I remember Max, and granted they were in a different situation, I think, a little bit, but Max and Danny Ricciardo had an agreement that one would give the other a tow every other race. So, like, if Daniel did it for qualifying in Australia, then Max would do it in Bahrain or whatever, and they would switch off. And I remember there being a time where, like, I remember seeing a team radios, like, Max didn't cross the line because he said, no, I said that, he was going to get to go first this weekend or whatever, and I'm not going to, like, jeopardize that. Like, that's the agreement we have. So I think there's going to be some interesting team dynamics there. They're going into the season supposedly equal, right? They are true equals.
Yeah.
I think that's a dangerous situation.
I think so too. I mean, I think if you're Charles, you're sitting there like, I'm being
beat
loyal
this
to
guy.
y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all gotta be loyal to me.
Exactly.
And both of them are previous Fred drivers. Like, he drove for Fred. Charles drove for Fred at Sauber, and now Ferrari. Lewis drove for Fred in the junior series before it was even called F2. GP2. He raced for him in GP2 and got to bring him up through that. So both drivers, really strong relationships with that. Like, and then the other two drivers also raced for Fred. Guan Yu Zhou was a Sauber junior driver.
Yeah, officially announced as a reserve.
And then also Antonio Giovinazzi at Sauber Alfa Romeo drove for Fred. So the whole Ferrari driver lineup, including reserve drivers,
networking, baby,
all drove for Fred in previous teams, and now they've assembled and won it. It's like Fred's team. Come on, Fred is doing a great job.
He is doing a great job.
Excited.
I think he is the best manager currently in
so good.
I think he's top team principal at the moment. I think
why did I say manager? Is this football?
No, but I think
difference.
We'll pardon you because this week we had a lot of GM talks. That was everybody's talking point. But yeah, I think he's doing a great job at Ferrari, and I think there's we've seen for the last several years, because of the nature of McLaren kind of coming back. We've seen Red Bull's dominance and stuff, so you see a lot about Toto Wolff, Zach Brown, whatever. I think Fred Vasseur kind of flies under the radar, but he's doing such a good job at that team.
Yes.
That team really has made a turnaround over the last couple years.
Yep.
So we
now
shall see.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off, but there's no issue with Italians, but Ferrari has always traditionally hired Italians.
Yes,
this goes back even. It goes back to Stefano Domenicali, right? So they had John Todt, right, who is French.
Yeah.
And then John Todt left, and they got Stefano Domenicali. No, they had one other guy, I think. But Stefano was there. They won the constructors once with him.
Yeah,
all right, so that was Stefano. And then they had Maurizio Arrivabene, who, again, got fired. Had a title fight, but left. And then Matteo Bonato, also Italian. And then still great engine engineer, but not a team principal.
No.
Yeah.
And then they bring another Frenchman on.
And then now they bring back somebody else, coincidentally also French, and he's doing pretty good so far.
I think the only way, though, for Fred to really stand out is to win something, right?
Absolutely.
And I guess he's won races. He's brought the team back. The team is thriving, and we're not seeing those kind of mediocre team that's making stupid decisions of strategy stuff, and especially over the last couple years, that's really turned around. But you also have to win a championship, right? Yeah. That is the deciding factor. That's what makes you great or not,
especially Ferrari.
At the very least, the constructors need to be this year. It needs to be secured. And again, they were almost there last year. And again, I think their biggest competition is going to be McLaren. Because Red Bull's a tough cookie now. Because what if Lawson is good? What if he's consistent?
What if Red Bull is good? Because my kind of, I guess we'll see this in predictions coming next week. But when I look at Red Bull as a team right now, my inclination is that they're going on a decline, not that they're somehow going to turn it around. So for me, they are probably the third team.
That's what I was
maybe
thinking.
The fourth.
Maybe, but I think there is a real wild card in Lawson. I don't know.
There's always
It's a big
wild
if.
card
It's a big
in
if.
Max Verstappen too, right?
Yeah, but I full heart and song believe he's going to win races and still he's going to contend for a championship. I really do.
I don't know if he's going to contend for a championship. And as a Max fan,
I was gonna say that is crazy.
But I do think he's gonna win races. Yeah. But I think, but to your point though, if you go and we're talking about driver pairings. If you look at down the grid, if Lando is taking points off of Oscar and Oscar's taking points off of Lando, and then if same goes for Ferrari and Mercedes, then you do have a real possibility if Lawson doesn't. If he's not, granted, he doesn't have to be terrible for this to happen, but he just can't be even as half as good. He just can't
be Checo.
Bro has one job.
He doesn't, as long as he's not fighting against Max, which is never going to be the case, because even if he's great, Red Bull's not going to let that happen. If he's not taking points off Max,
Bro just needs to come in 6th. Like, he just needs to come in, like, 5th or 6th and just not come in last.
He needs
like
to.
just
the number
don't
one
mess
thing that's going to...
Q1 elimination.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The number one thing that's going to make fans feel like there's been an improvement from Checo to Liam is qualifying.
He's got to make it to Q3 every week.
Consistently be in Q3 if the car rented it. That's car dependent.
Yeah.
But then that's the step up.
Yep,
that's it. He doesn't, like, race-wise, even, like, Checo wasn't the worst.
His craft wasn't bad, but, like...
But his qualifying was just not there.
I mean, it was not last year, but the year before, he crashed a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, this past year also, he didn't do too hot there either. But, like... But, yeah, no, that's a very good point. I mean, I would argue it's probably actually the most important point for him is just, honestly, make it to Q3 every week.
Yeah.
If you can make it at least qualify, like, in the top 10, no matter what, then... it's business as usual. You're better than Checo. I mean, on foot, even then, I mean, Checo at the beginning of the year was running in 2nd and 3rd, you know, like, I mean.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, that's kind of what saved him a little bit because.
Tiny bit.
I mean, he had some good finishes at the start.
Yeah.
If it weren't for that, he would have been gone very early in the season.
Well, even then, like, when they signed that deal with him, and all 4 of us were sat here like, he's going to figure out a way to mess this up. And he did by coming in last like 3 times in a row.
Right after signing the
after signing it. Wrecking out in Mexico, right? I think.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Can't believe they gave him the deal.
I love how somehow I turned this into like Checo slander.
He's already dead.
Go back
He's
to
already
Checo.
dead.
He's
you can't
already
talk about
dead.
you can't talk about current teammate pairings without kind of reflecting on the past.
It's a
right?
very
Like,
good
we're talking
point.
About, we're talking about like Charles and Lewis.
Yeah.
But Charles and Carlos had a great relationship.
Yes.
They also, in a way, like, you don't want to look at it this way because I think they did a great job. They also kind of took points off each other, right? They were constantly going back and forth who finishes higher or lower. Granted, I think Charles kind of took the cake on that one. But I think one of the good things, though, about their relationship was, A, they didn't fight too much on track. And B, I think Carlos's strong suits were not Charles's strong suits. So their races in which they were faster
It's very true.
were a little bit more distinct. Like Monaco was clearly Charles's track, not Carlos. Whereas in Mexico, for example, it was clearly a better race for Carlos than it was for Charles. So I think that was one thing that really helped Ferrari in that sense is they kind of weren't both great at the same track.
Yeah, right.
Whereas I think now with Charles and Lewis, that's going to happen a lot more often where Lewis is great at Silverstone, but so is Charles. So trying to figure out the balance at Ferrari, I think, is going to be a difficult season.
It's going to help McLaren very nicely, I think.
I have a goofy question for you guys. When Monaco comes around, right, do you think it's a, what's it called, a not very, how do I describe it? Like a good idea, I guess, to just put all of my life savings on whoever qualifies on pole to win the race?
I wouldn't look past it.
Not terrible, but if it rains,
that's
it's
a game
over.
changer.
So-
If there's a tire mess up, it's over.
Yeah.
Like Ricardo in
last-
2016, his team forgot the tires in the pit lane, and he lost the race.
Oh my God, you guys! If you haven't seen that clip,
Oh, I
please
have.
watch
Yeah,
Trevor Noah's kid talk to Daniel Ricciardo about that moment, even though Trevor Noah's kid was not even like alive. I'm pretty sure.
I haven't seen that.
And he was like, "You went into the pits, and then the tires weren't there." It's the cutest thing I've ever seen. Like, if you have not seen that, please look it up. It is the cutest thing ever.
Man.
Jeez.
But I think if you look back, really, how many times over the last years have Pole not won? Because I feel like
Leclerc, when
had
he broke his
several
car.
DNFs, and the pit stop that was he went from first to fourth. I don't know that would be my safe bet.
Oh, from 1956. Hold on, I gotta find the recent one.
I was gonna say I don't even know what to Google. Really?
I found the whole stat list. So the last time Pole did not win was in 2022 when Leclerc
Right.
DNF. That's when Perez won, funny enough.
Yes.
The year before that
was
was
by
a
Ricciardo.
Charles Pole Verstappen win.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then before that, you have to go all the way back to that 2016 moment we just talked about.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then in 2015, it also happened. So it can happen.
Yeah, that's
Now,
not bad.
Obviously,
It's not a bad odds, but I
it's
think
not bad. It's better
I
than any
think-
other race.
right.
For
I
sure.
think what I would do in that with that particular question is it really does depend on who's on pole.
That's a good
'Cause I have
question,
more
yeah.
faith in, for example, Max keeping a pole than I do somebody else. Right?
You
like
can say
if-
Lando. It's okay. I know. I know.
Well, that's
Say
actually not
Lando.
who the first person that came to mind, but yes, Lando. I was thinking papayas though. Lando, Oscar, maybe Liam. Like
Yeah.
those people, if they take pole,
Pierre Gasly.
Pierre. Yeah. So I think, but if like I said, if it's Max Verstappen on pole, I would take that bet.
Yeah.
9
Yeah.
times out of
Yeah.
10.
Wait,
So,
what happened this year where the race was 2 hours? Was there a red flag?
Yeah, the
think
crash.
there was, right?
At
Without-
the very beginning.
Oh, it was the Haas
Checo-
and
the Haas and
yeah.
Checo
Yeah.
and Carlos too.
Oh my gosh, that feels like so long ago. I don't
Right?
remember that. That's
It
weird.
was what, July?
Yeah.
Mm.
No, man.
No, it's May.
May.
It's Memorial
Also,
Day weekend.
look-
Which isn't
Wow.
going to be a thing anymore. Now I'm
That's
angry.
fine.
Okay.
That means F1 drivers could attempt the 500 and not have to worry about it.
Yeah, maybe if like I was gonna I messed it up. I forgot. I thought you were saying like if they wanted to take like Concord across the Atlantic, but no, now
you
they
could
can
do
because
it.
they can
Yeah.
do both. Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
it's cool just seeing all the poll times. Like you could see where the regulations changed. Like from
Yeah.
2016 to 17, it was 3 seconds faster.
Wow.
And then
Wow.
from 2021, it was 1 minute 12, and
Mm.
it went up to 1 minute 14 in 2022.
What about
Yeah, it was
Raikkonen?
really bigger.
Look at Raikkonen's time in 2005. It's 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Did it rain that day?
No,
That is-
2005.
wow.
You're looking at the wrong stat line.
What am I
That's
looking at here?
oh. Oh,
no,
oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it
no,
is.
you're right.
That's 2 minutes
You're
and
right.
30 seconds.
Oh, I was reading fastest laps. Yeah,
I
that
don't
was
know.
a weird.
I guess
that's
it must
weird.
have rained or
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
All right.
But anyways, I want to end off with one other driver pairing.
Okay.
We've talked about this before.
Mm.
Kimmy and George.
Yes.
Mm.
What's
Kimmy's
your...
the favorite. George is the experienced.
I disagree. Fully disagree.
I do also
Fully
disagree.
disagree.
You mean favorite to be faster?
No, Kimmy is the favorite in the team.
No.
He's the fan
No.
favorite.
One-
1000%.
Show me the
No.
stats.
Toto.
Or show me
Show me
the
the
facts.
stats.
Show me the facts. Let me
I-
see.
so
What's
your argument
Show
is that
you
Toto
the
Just
videos
likes
of
Kimmy.
Toto and Kimmy. Yeah, absolutely. That makes all the difference. Toto Wolff calls the
All
shots.
right, that is a really good point because he's been talking about like, oh, missing on Max hurt me, but I can't miss on Kimmy. He never spoke about George.
Yeah.
I mean, he did mention it
That
back
was
then when he
that's my
picked up
point.
George, but he waited a long time to pull Bottas to put George in.
Yeah.
Now, I think that was more because Bottas worked so well with Lewis because
Yeah.
Bottas is
Yeah.
always close enough but never encroached on Lewis.
Yep.
Bottas's worst year arguably was 2021 when they lost. No, never mind. They won
No,
the constructors.
Won constructors.
2018 was his only bad year, really. But
Yeah.
other than that, I see your argument, Marina. But I
Thank you.
think George will still outperform Kimmy.
Yeah.
Wow, I think
How close do you think it's gonna get?
absolutely.
Not close.
Not?
No, I don't think so. I think there's gonna
I
be at
don't think so
least. I'm gonna say there's at least like a 100-point difference.
Looking in
Ooh.
no,
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
looking at F1
No way.
history,
I
it
think
could
so.
be extremely close. Like
It could be.
Like literally, we just talked about this during the podcast. Hamilton and Alonso, 2007, they tied in second place. Lewis was a rookie. Alonso was a 2-time back-to-back champion before
I
that year.
mean, I could see it. I could see George winning a few races and Kimmy winning none. I could also see both winning none, in all honesty.
It's just
Yeah.
gonna depend on how good Mercedes is. Like if they're
Yeah.
fighting for points and are really
I think-
bad, like
I think that's the difference. This is the last thing I'll say, but I think that's the difference between your supposed tier 1 driver, George
True.
Russell, and a driver like Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Fernando Alonso. They win in less than par equipment, and George doesn't. But
George also wins an
Podium and
illegal.
Williams.
But-
he won twice last year, technically.
But
Twice.
he
I was
had-
gonna say he also won with an
He had-
illegal
He
car.
also
Yeah.
beat Hamilton. Like
Yeah, whatever.
That happened.
Anyways,
Over a
And
season.
equal machinery.
And equal machinery.
We're bringing up. We're
Just like a
Sure.
Monaco-based
Sure.
F1
we're dusting
YouTuber.
off old graves
Oh my
here.
gosh.
he is not a tier 1 driver, but you will find out who we think is a tier 1 driver next week when we do our predictions, as well as who we think would be the best rookie. And maybe, I don't know, maybe Kimi does outperform George Russell for some of us in our predictions.
It
so
is fun to
stay
think
tuned
about.
for that.
I was
It
gonna
is.
say as a final like note, it is fun to think like all this conversation we have over like who's gonna do what. It's fun to know like we could all be totally wrong.
Oh, it doesn't
For
matter.
sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Most of us are. So
Yeah.
we shall see. I think our predictions did terribly last year.
We didn't get a
Yeah.
single one right.
So
No, didn't
I was
he
gonna say,
get-
I
he
thought
got
I
constructors.
Oh,
I
did
called
get
the
a couple?
constructors.
Oh, the constructors. Oh, okay. Oh,
And
no,
that
no,
was
no,
a
no.
risk
I
back
did
then,
too.
saying
Yeah.
McLaren would win it. That
Well,
was a huge
What I was
risk.
saying
That
was
pretty good call.
what's it called? I'm saying like weekly races. We never got the top
Oh
three.
no,
right,
Oh,
we've
right?
yeah.
I don't
never
think so.
gotten the top 3
It's just
correct.
crazy. There's
Just
four
not-
of us.
Well, I think
Yeah.
we've gotten it just not in the right order, right?
Yeah,
times
yeah.
Yeah, but we've
24.
never gotten 1, 2, 3.
Well,
correct.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. There's four of us.
So that's 96 guesses.
And none of us
and
got
also we
3
all
right.
guessed differently. Because
Yeah.
again, guys,
Yeah.
in the understandably, the audience, the media world, we have to guess differently. It's a little bit more interesting for content.
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. We can't be
But,
boring.
Like if Steven says Max Verstappen's gonna win, we're all probably thinking Max Verstappen's gonna win. But I'm going with Charles Leclerc.
Yeah. Keep it
Yeah.
interesting.
A little behind the scenes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But thank you guys so much for watching. We will be back next Monday, as always, at 11:30 Eastern Time. In the meantime, check out our socials at Let's Latest on Instagram and TikTok. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Peace.